Hey guys, welcome back to another Cook With Me. It's Wednesday, and I thought since I've rotated between soup, ice cream, today is noodles day. So I am gonna be making a dish that I recently made on my Instagram stories that you guys all wanted to get the recipe for. It's my improvised version of pancit, which is a rice noodle stir fry, a Filipino rice noodle stir fry dish. It's really simple. I'm just using everything that I have in the pantry. Actually, this is my last bit of rice noodles. If you guys grew up in a Vietnamese household or an Asian household like I did, rice vermicelli was always available. Hopefully you have more than just this one bit that I do, but it's really simple. It's lots of veggies, chicken, and it comes together in like 15-20 minutes. So I had some green beans in the fridge, and I'm just gonna basically chop them into 1-inch pieces, 2-inch pieces, pretty small. We're just gonna prep our vegetables. Now I would compare this dish, it's very similar to like chow mein probably, but I would have to say I'm calling this an improvised version because it's not the way that I've researched. A lot of Filipino recipes out there cook the rice dish with the rice noodles with some broth and all the sauce and the vegetables all together. But I found that when I did that, it was a technique thing for me, definitely. But I found that when I did that, it got really soft and mushy, and it wasn't like separated as you get them at the restaurant. So what I'm gonna do, actually, I'll show you guys later. So I'm gonna change my technique a little bit just to make it work. By no means is this authentic, and definitely throughout this I want to try more Filipino food after this whole quarantine is over. Like, Filipino food is such a trend down in LA right now. It's definitely having a moment, or actually before all of this happens. So I hope that these little mom and pop or like new like dream restaurants of Filipino chefs really will thrive and be able to make it after this, because it's so good. I've tried sinigang, I've tried laing, that's so yummy. My friend, when we lived back in the Bay Area, we went to this place called Barrio Fiesta. She just had me try a bunch of things. One of them was like yam or taro leaves that was stewed with pork, and it had a little bit of tamarind in there, so it was like it had this kind of a tang with coconut milk, and it was so delicious. It's not like a cuisine that I always get, but every time I eat it, it's so yummy. Like lumpia, so good. But if there's another type of Filipino dish that you guys think I should try, I would love to learn more about it. So leave it in the comment section below. So now for the carrots, I'm just kind of cutting them into very, very thin matchsticks. So like I've said, I've been on a steady diet, and it's not good at all, but I've been on a steady diet of soups to get the veggies and fibers in, noodles just because they're easy and they're quick to make, and I also like put veggies in there too, and ice cream so I can eat my feelings. It's just something about ice cream just makes you feel better when anything bad happens, right? I recently found this one ice cream sandwich by Alden Organics, A-L-D-E-N, and you can find it at Sprouts or Whole Foods, and they have such amazing, creamy, delicious ice cream. I got this one strawberry shortcake ice cream sandwich. Even Nate, who does not like fruity ice cream, said this is so amazing, and he ate 2 of them. Let's cut a little bit more carrots. I always like loading my noodle dishes up with veggies. If you guys have cabbage, green cabbage, that would be really delicious to add in here too. Like mushrooms. I've seen all different types of things in the pancit. Now I definitely could use a mandolin to do this, but it's just fun for me, and it's quite therapeutic to cut vegetables, just like the repetitive motion of this. When I used to work at Sur La Table, like the kitchen in there to help prep the cooking classes, that was one of my favorite things. Like, people hated prepping vegetables and doing this stuff, and I'm like, give it to me, I'll do it, and just like quietly stand there chopping. Like, the introvert in me really comes out. Okay, we're done with the carrots. And then some celery. For the celery, I'm just gonna rough chop it. So just on the diagonal, just to give it a little bit of a different look. I really like the crunch that the vegetable provides in the noodle dish, just because the rice noodles will get kind of mushy and then you have like meat in there, but this gives it a little bit of texture and crunch, so it's gonna be really good. This is done, and then last but not least, just a little bit of onions. For the onions, I'm actually gonna throw it in right before I add the noodles, because I don't want them as cooked as the vegetables. Not half moons. What do you call this? Just like chopped onions? They're not half moons because this would be half moon or sliced. I don't know. I don't know what the right way to call this type of chop. And now I'm gonna cut up our chicken, and then we're just gonna marinate it with a little bit of soy sauce, garlic, and sugar. So for the chicken, I'm just cutting them into small pieces, like how you would for a stir fry, just very thin. This is chicken thigh. You can use chicken breast if you like, but I find it a little bit dry. You can definitely use pork tenderloin, or if you want, you can make it vegetarian, leave the protein out altogether. Totally up to you. So I'm just using 3 small chicken thighs. I need to actually resharpen my knife because it's getting a little dull and hard to cut. So now that we are, basically a month into the quarantine, what have you guys been making? And are you guys able to find groceries again? Like, has it been a little easier? Are you guys used to it? I mean, for us, I'm pretty much just, well, first of all, I'm kind of over the whole thing, but also I became a little bit adapted. I've figured out our routine at home, and stores are starting to restock stuff, so I feel like I'm able to get a lot more items to cook and experiment with. Recipe testing stuff is pretty much back to normal. Obviously, I have to still use what I have because not like everything is available, but it's, for me at least, I feel like it's become the norm. And I wonder how life is going to change after this. Like, what do you guys think is going to change? Like, are we still going to be able to go out in public without wearing a mask? Are you going to have PTSD to not get close to people? Like, I just wonder, you know, like, what is it going to be when we're out in the world again? Hopefully it'll still be good. Hopefully. I'm gonna wash my hands and then we'll marinate the chicken. Okay, so to marinate the chicken, I'm just gonna add a little bit of sugar. And sugar's not typical, like what you typically would add for stir fry, but it really balances out the flavors. Some soy sauce. I'm just eyeballing this right now because it's a very simple marinade. And then some garlic. Give it a good mix. All right, and now we're gonna assemble our stir fry sauce, which is pretty much the same thing, except here I'm gonna be adding oyster sauce. So you want like 2 tablespoons. I love using oyster sauce for stir fries, noodles, like it just adds that mushroomy, like oyster, I don't know, it just tastes really good. It's sweet, it's salty, but not like how soy sauce is. A little bit of soy sauce, I would say a tablespoon, sugar before that, and then now some black pepper and garlic. I would say 2 cloves if you're using real garlic. And just mix it up. And that's our stir fry sauce. I'm also gonna be adding some beef broth or beef stock later to thin everything out. But now I think we are ready to start cooking. All right, we just have our live studio audience just arrived. No nap today. No nap today. Okay. Anyway, so now I'm gonna start by boiling off our noodles. So the water is almost ready to go, and I'm gonna just quickly dip this in to the hot boiling water for 2 to 3 minutes. Just undercook it because it's gonna continue to absorb the liquid from our sauce later. So the reason why I'm pre-boiling the noodles is because when I cook it with the broth and the sauce, as I've seen a lot of other recipes do it, it gets super starchy and mushy. So it's definitely a technique thing for me. I haven't figured it out yet, but I figured, like, since I'm improvising anyways, I'm just gonna cook this to get rid of that excess starch. I really hope I have enough noodles. Otherwise, it'll be a veggie stir fry with a little bit of noodles. See the bubbles with the white stuff here? The starch is definitely coming out, and the water is semi-thick too. Rice noodles is so good in a noodle salad, and that's how I typically have it, or in like a noodle soup, but this stir fry one is fairly new to me. I never thought to use rice noodles in a stir fry before. We're gonna drain our noodles and run it under really cold water. And now it comes together. So the reason why I rinsed it with cold water was just to shock it and stop the cooking process, because we're gonna finish everything up in here. Get our wok really hot, and then we're gonna cook our chicken. I'm gonna add some avocado oil in here. And since I already have garlic in the marinade and the sauce, I'm not gonna add any of the extra aromatics. We're just gonna add the onions at the end. So every time I use this wok, I get questions about where did you find the wok? What's a good wok that you recommend? I found this in Chinatown at some random restaurant supply store. There's no name brand or anything, but it's made of carbon steel and it's lasted me for years and years and years. Probably had this for about 10 years now, and I love it. It just cooks everything super well. It stays nice and seasoned because I use it a lot. But yeah, once the wok gets smoking hot like this, add your chicken in. And using a wok on a gas stove is one of the most satisfying things. Once you hear that first sizzle, it's so good. And it stays really hot too, just because the carbon steel is so thin. I mean, it holds the heat okay, not as good as my cast iron, I would say, but it's still pretty good. Cook it for a minute. Once it's almost fully cooked, I'm gonna add our vegetables in. What I like to do when I'm using my wok is that I like to push stuff to the outer rim so that the middle can get hot again, and then all the juices can come down and like either evaporate or just continue cooking and thicken up. Thing with the wok is just always keep it moving. All right, now that the chicken is fairly cooked through, I'm gonna add in our vegetables. Dump them all in. All right, so I'm running out of butane. This is another problem during the quarantine. I haven't been able to find butane, so I'm running out of it. So I'm just actually gonna bring it to my gas stove and fire it up so it gets really hot, and then I'll come back over here. Cooking in real life, you guys. Yes. All right, it was really important for me to get that like really fired up to have that like smoky hay taste in here with the wok. See, it like didn't sizzle before, but now it's able to keep the heat and sizzle up. I need to find butane or else the cooking show cannot go on. Okay, now we're gonna add our onions. Stir fry it up. I love my onions to still have that crunch in there in the stir fry. It just tastes better, I feel like. Now we get the noodles. It's still kind of stiff. Our sauce. Our noodles to vegetable and meat ratio is not good. So if you guys have more rice noodles than meat, or than I do, definitely use 2 of those packs. And then this bone broth that I made, it's so thick. I'm just gonna add a tiny little bit. I would say like half a cup to get those juices running. And then continue to stir fry. And that's actually gonna help us cook the rest of the rice noodles, and it's gonna absorb the sauce. It smells so good. And this process probably takes about 3 minutes. For my Filipino viewers, how am I doing? And does this look like something your mom or dad or grandparents would approve? Hopefully. All right, just another quick minute. It's separated, not mushy. Proud of myself. Actually though, now that everything's like melded together, I feel like the noodles to everything else ratio is not terrible. This could work. You agree? Okay. Our noodle dish is done. Our pancit, our improvised pancit is done. Yay! Actually, it looks so good. Now let's plate this up, and I want to introduce you guys to my favorite condiment. Let me grab a fork real quick. I'm very excited. This is my lunch, so I'm hungry. Bless you. And then I'll garnish it with a little bit of cilantro. It just adds a little bit more color, some freshness to it. And then I wanted to introduce you to my favorite condiment, which is this chili onion crunch that I found at Trader Joe's long before the quarantine. I didn't didn't touch it at all until I remembered that I had it. And ever since then, I've been obsessed. I only have half a bottle left, but I'm trying to stretch it to last me hopefully another month. Who knows? I haven't stepped foot inside a Trader Joe's in forever, and I really miss some of the items there. But this is going in. Mix it up. Let me grab some vegetables and chicken. It smells so good. I would say the texture of the noodles this time, I nailed it. The last couple times it was a little bit too mushy or it was still undercooked, but this one, I'm really proud of myself. I wonder if adding fish sauce would also help instead of the soy sauce. I definitely like the saltiness of it. It's very balanced, but now as I'm doing this, maybe because it's my Vietnamese influence and I feel like rice noodles always go with fish sauce, is that I'm kind of tying the two together. But as is, it's delicious. With the chili crunch, it's even better. This was a fun experiment for me. I've just been cooking with whatever I have at home and playing up with new flavors, getting inspiration from existing dishes, and making stuff up like this. I didn't make this up. I just used what I had to make a dish that I know about. I hope you guys are doing the same. Let me know what other combinations you're coming up with, how you're getting creative in the kitchen. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Also, if you guys are on Instagram, I've been doing live cook with me's, which have been really fun because I invite you guys to come on live with me to chat, ask any questions, just hang out. It's been fun. So join me there too at Honeysuckle.